Brenda Miller. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and I go live every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time to share with you some projects that I'm working on, or news, or anything Stampin' related, and sometimes not Stampin' related. So today is no exception. I'm very excited to share a new box design that we learned about at a demonstrator-only event that was held last weekend called Creativity Now. And I'm excited to share it because it's one that I think I'm going to go to quite a bit. So let's pop over to my desktop and take a look. Whoop, I'm a little cockeyed here. I thought I had this figured out. Let's see if that's better. Come on. There it goes. Okay. So these are the boxes that I have to share with you today. So this is the one that we did at Creativity Now. You can see it uses the products that I shared last week that you'll be able to see and purchase in the fall mini catalog that we have coming out in September. And it's just such a sweet box. It's not that tiny, to be honest with you. And it uses some ribbon. It uses all kinds of stamping and die cutting and little embellishments. And I thought that I would make one for you today that uses some current product that you could get your hands on now if you wanted to. So you can see we have this here. It's a little thank you box. And I just want to open it up for you. So number one, you see how it opens, but also you can see what it can hold because it is actually kind of big. So what I love about this is that it is self-closing. So you can see here, I have it stuffed. So it has a label on top, but it opens like this. And so you don't need a lid, okay? And I wanted to show that you can actually put a gift card in there too. A gift card will fit, as does 6 Hershey Nuggets. And who doesn't love Hershey Nuggets, right? So anyway, that is the design for the card, and I'm going to show you how we can make that, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. We are going to start with a piece of Florals in Bloom designer series paper, and it is 4 inches wide by 11 inches, and that means that you can get 3 of these boxes out of a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. And then we're going to do a little scoring. So the scoring, I'm using our scoreboard, and you can use your paper trimmer or whatever you normally use for scoring. And you're going to be scoring it on the long side at 3 inches and 4 inches, as well as 8 inches and 9 inches. So easy peasy that way. And then you're going to turn it, and you're going to score it the long way at 1 inch. Oopsie, lost my way there. Trying to do it too fast. And then 3 inches. Okay. So remember, it's 4 inches wide, so that means that the base of your box is going to be about 2 inches wide. So you can see, maybe on the other side, you can see the score lines a little bit better. Okay, so that's the hardest thing we've got to do today. So we're going to take a pair of paper snips, our little paper, scissors, and mine is in this little container right here. Okay, and we're going to cut. And all we're going to do is cut on the score lines that we just did from one score line to the next. So from on the long side, we're cutting the 0 inches to 1 inches, okay? And we're stopping at that score line. And we're going to do that for all 4 tabs, okay? So these become the tabs that create your box. And it'll make more sense when I show it to you, everything folded. So I'm just cutting on those score lines again, just that 1 inch piece in those 4 places. So there are lots of boxes that you can make with designer series paper or regular cardstock. I tend to shy away from them because I hate trying to get the lid to be right, etc. And I'm just not a 3D person anyway, but this is so incredibly simple that I think I'll be doing this all the time. And then you just want to fold all of your score lines in. And actually, you could have done this before. Maybe that would have made it easier for cutting. I don't know. So I'm just folding them all up. And we are going to put adhesive on those 4 tabs that we just cut. So let's fold that open, and you can see I'm going to fold those in. And I'm just going to use regular Stampin' Seal. You could use tear and tape if you wanted to. You could also use wet adhesive. I don't like to use wet adhesive on this because sometimes it leaks out and sometimes it gets a little bit messy, and you have to hold it in place. I have no patience. But at the same time, if you use wet adhesive, it's very strong. See, I didn't fold it this way. You were supposed to fold it this way too. Sorry. So I'm just folding all the score lines, folding everything in on the score lines. And we're just going to take one end, fold it up, and just press the sides into that tab. Okay, so see how that has formed a little box? And you'll do the same thing here. And you just want to make sure that you're doing it to the bottom and not to the top, to the lid, because that's not going to work. Okay, and so here's the structure of your box, right? You're done. And the way that it closes is you're going to tuck one side in and then tuck the other side in. And didn't fold that well enough. Here we go. And then you can decorate the top and tie it with ribbon to hold it closed. But truthfully, it's going to stay closed like this. When you put a gift card in, it stretches it out a little bit. So it might be a little, you might really want to use some ribbon of some kind or a belly band at that point. But I think this is pretty just by itself. But let's go ahead and decorate this too. So I actually used one of the dies. This is the Countryside in dies. Now, this is an older set of dies, and it's actually on the last chance list, and it's also on sale. In the U.S., I think it's $16.80. It's a great deal. It's a great size to have. You can even make a full card front out of the largest one, but I'm going to use this one here, and I just die cut one label out of some basic white cardstock. Okay, so I cut that out. So that is done through the magic of television. And I wanted to add a little bit more to my label than I had on my sample because, every time I have a sample, I improve it every time I make it, or I find something that I want to do differently. So what I'm going to do is I'm just putting it on a piece of scratch paper because I'm going to do some stamping off. And I'm actually using a stamp from the June paper pumpkin. I happen to be making samples this morning with paper pumpkin, and it comes with this particular kit came with leaves. So you can see you get a nice assortment every month when you get a paper pumpkin kit. And this one had 3 different kinds of leaves in it, and I'm just going to use this one. And I'm going to use some soft sea foam. Soft sea foam is not one of the colors that is listed here, but in my opinion, it is a lovely coordinating color for this Granny Apple Green. So that's what I'm going to use. And I'm just going to stamp it a few times, and you can see that it is light enough that it's not going to take away from anything else. So I'm just going to put a bunch of leaves on there. Now, when we did it in our little class, we actually used a stencil and a blending tool to create some background design, but stamping just works just as well. And again, that was from the paper pumpkin kit. And if you have any interest in paper pumpkin, you can check out my website, get all the information there. And I always do a class the first Thursday of the month, and so that's tomorrow. So hence why I was getting ready. Okay, and now we want to stamp a sentiment. You don't have to, of course, but I'm using the With You in Mind. This is a $1 million stamp set, meaning it was designed by someone who has sold at least $1 million, and that is Julie Davidson, one of my favorite stampers. So thank you to Julie for designing that for us. And I'm going to use the thank you. Now, I tend to, if I'm making boxes, it's usually for an event or let's say a dinner, and so I want to say thank you for coming. And so that is what I would normally do. And so I'm using Pretty in Pink because Pretty in Pink is the pink that is in this designer series paper. And I like to keep things, but keep the colors all together. Okay, so I don't really need this piece of paper here anymore. I'm going to use that. Okay, so now we've got our label. So next step, I went and took out my Pretty Florals stamp set. It's actually a bundle. It comes with all these wonderful dies. I love using these, and you've seen me use them quite a few times already. And these are the dies that coordinate, or the bundle that coordinates with this designer series paper. They're all in the same suite. And I just actually had some leftovers from a class I did last week that used this peach pie and granny apple green to make this little flower. And so we're just going to assemble this flower really quickly. And I don't have my silicone mat here. Misplaced that this weekend. All right, I'm just going to put a little dab of glue there, wet glue, just because I want to be able to move it around, perhaps, make sure I get it just right on there. And so you can see this is how this gets assembled. Okay, now I could have used regular adhesive too. That would work. And now we want to put that onto our box. And I'm going to go ahead and just put it on an angle, and I will use some adhesive, and I'm going to put the adhesive right onto the label just because I find that to be less messy, and it makes sure that the glue stays on the label. So that is my quick and easy label. Obviously, it could have been even simpler if we didn't do that background stamping like I had on my other one. And then, of course, I want to add, got to add an embellishment of some kind. So I took out some of my little butterflies, and I'm going to add those to my card with a visual triangle. So we've got one there. I'm going to put one here. And I'm going to put one more over here. Maybe right there. What do you think? Okay, so now we have our little label. The key to now applying this to the card front is to make sure that you don't seal the box, right? So you want to make sure that your adhesive goes on the back of the left side only. And I'm actually going to use dimensionals for this. Because I find I like the way that it stands up. So just find my dimensionals out of my little pouch. And I have little ones here, which is fine. You can use regular size ones. And you don't need a lot. These little dimensionals are really very strong. If you're worried about it, feel free to use a bunch. But I'm just going to use those two. And remember, I'm doing it on the back of the left side only. And I'm going to put that on there, and voila, now my box will open. I can fill it with whatever I want. And for the final touch, if we wanted to, you can see that we had that Pretty in Pink on here. We could have used some lemon lolly, and then this is actually strawberry slush. So I happen to have some strawberry slush ribbon. Now this new ribbon is amazing. I just think it is so pretty. You can see it's almost a little bit iridescent, right? And it's almost see-through too. So it's a very nice weight, thin, and I'm going to cut about, I don't know, 18 to 20 inches. And I'm using my ribbon scissors, as I've explained. You want to keep your ribbon scissors. So I thought this strawberry slush was a nice complement to the pink on the card front, and we're just going to tie a nice bow if you can. I'm not the greatest at bows, but you'll just bear with me and see how well I can do. I'm going to pinch that. I'm supposed to get my nails done today. I know, first world problems, but my poor manicurist isn't feeling well, so I have to postpone until the weekend. So my nails are a little long, making things a little harder for me. Okay, Well, let's try it one more time and then I give up. Usually takes me a few tries anyway to get the bow just the way I like it. I always say I have 3 boys because God gave me boys because He knew I could not tie a bow. All right, so now we have our little bow there. And you can see mine's a little bit smaller than the one I had on my other project, but how pretty is that? And you can slide this off just like a belly band so that they can keep it intact, right? Or they can just untie it. And if you think they'll untie it, you might want to put a little bit of adhesive underneath here so that they can do that. And that's fine as well. So that is my pretty little box. And as I mentioned, it holds a gift card, potentially. You can squeeze that in there, and 6 little nuggets. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. And let's see. Thank you for joining me for this project, and I will see you the next time. So thank you so much. Bye-bye.